Hello and welcome back. And our app is still loading, so I'll let it load. But when you create a new Xcode project, basically it creates a basic structure with some essential files. In this case, all of our files are listed on the left hand side, and this panel is conveniently called the Project Navigator. Okay, so your project navigator contains all the files that you're dealing with. Along with that, there are some other navigators that you can see. For example, source code navigator. If you have this connected to a source code, for example, GitHub or Bitbucket or anything like that. Any bookmarks that you have created within your code, any search that you wanna that you have done recently or project-wide search that you want to do, any of the this is where all your exceptions, issues, stuff like that shows up. So compiler issues and stuff like that will show up here. If I actually make a compiler mistake, there we go, we actually see that here. Let me go ahead and fix that. Then you have your tests, your unit tests tab. So this is basically your test navigator where you can see all the unit tests that you have written. Next is your debug panel. Whenever you're running the app, then you see this debug panel populated. Let's go ahead and run the app, and we'll see this debug panel being populated. And you will see all the stats about how much CPU your app is using, memory, disk space, network calls, all of that stuff is basically shown right here. And you can actually see different things. For example, you can view the process by by thread, by queue, UI hierarchy. You can see how the memory graph is basically designed and stuff like that. Okay, so this is a very helpful tab to help you debug and make sure that your app is as efficient as possible. Now, next to that is you have your breakpoint. This is where you manage your breakpoints. So whenever you put a breakpoint, they actually show up here. And breakpoints are basically whenever you're running the app and your app will stop and show you what are the variables, what are the things that have been done at that point, and you get a full stack of that in the memory, what's going on, which thread, how many thread, what's the variable, what's inside this variable, what's the object holding and stuff like that. And you also get access to this console where you can print object for any of the things that are created. So let's see, can I if I can query content view, I can't actually. Let's see, content view dot body. Okay, I'll show you this when we have a code. So actually, you know what, let's write that code. So I'm gonna write on appear, and you're gonna learn what this does. Let test is equal to 1 2 3 and print test. There we go, test dot description. All right, let's put a breakpoint here. Print is not printf, it is print, and let's go ahead and run it. So what's going to happen is when your app actually appears, this on appear block is going to be called, and whenever this is called, you're going to hit the breakpoint right here before printing. And now you can use your print object, which is shorthand for PO, to print any object that's currently in the memory. So this is going to be very helpful to you, to debug the current state of any of the variables, so you can debug and find out any unexpected behavior and fix those issues. Okay, let's move on. I'm gonna remove this. All right, so your last one is basically all your configurations, okay, like all your schemes, your what are you running, and whether you have a build system created in Xcode Cloud or not, which you can do, or what you have in the local environment. Okay, so this is your project structure. Now in the project navigator, you see a few things. You see there is an asset folder. Now this assets folder basically keeps all your assets, your images, your colors, your app icons and stuff like that. Now whenever you want to create something, you always click on this plus button and you click, for example, if you're creating an image set, you click on image set or color set, SF symbol, data, or you can keep your augmented reality related assets here. You can keep your app specific assets here as well. If this is something that you're creating as multi-platform, you can create folders and stuff like that. So this is a place where you keep all your assets. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a color set. Whenever I create a color set, for example, I will say background color. This background color asset will become available to me in the code. And now what I can do here is I can set the color. So I can come here and change this to maybe sRGB. We can see the color panel, set a color for any appearance. So let's go ahead and set a slightly darker orange. So let's first find the orange. There we go. And like so. Okay, now for the dark mode, actually we should have done that for dark mode, but let's try to do it here. Okay, there we go. And we set this for dark mode and set this a little bit light. There we go. Or maybe we'll leave it like off-white with slight tint of orange. Okay, there we go. So now you can see that you have two colors defined here for the background color. You have like any appearance and your dark appearance. Now if we go into your content view, this is one of the main view. This is the view that your app is going to launch. Now why is that? Why is this view going to be launched by the app? Why not another view that you've created? Well, because it is defined right here. Okay, so whenever you create a SwiftUI app, you actually get something called DevTechie, in this case DevTechie Courses app. Okay, I know app is repeated here because we named our app DevTechie Courses app, and the app at the end represents the app file. Okay, now this app file conforms to this protocol called app. Now you can right click on this and you can actually view the details what this is about. So you just click on jump to definition and you can read about it, like what is this, right? So your app file basically creates a structure for your app. It actually is like the starting point. It is the big main container, and app protocol provides the structure, all the things that your app needs to conform to, your app needs to do in order to make up that app. Okay, so that definition of what app should be is defined here. Now app can contain multiple scenes, multiple windows, and that's where your var body some scene defines. Now inside that you have a window group. For iOS you just have one window group because on iOS at any point you just see a single app. Now if this was an iPad OS, you would have multiple window group or Vision or Mac OS, you'd have like multiple windows, because at the same time you can create multiple windows. Like for example, on Mac I have this simulator and I have Xcode. So these two are managed by their own window groups. Okay, now inside the window group I have the launch point, basically which view should my user see as the entry point, and here it is defined as content view, which is why our content view becomes the main entry point for our view, and whatever is defined in the content view becomes the first thing that you see on the screen. Okay, now let's go back and let's talk about this main. So main is basically your marker to the entry point, your main entry point. What is the one view that's actually always going to be launched as the that's going to be mentioned as the starting point. So this main attribute tells Swift that this is where app needs to start running, and in this case basically it's gonna be inside this app. You're gonna see in other projects, like for example if you're creating a widget, you're gonna have like a different main entry point for each widget on the app that you're gonna create. So by the way, widgets are these big tiles that actually show at a glance information on yours directly on your users on your phone screen. Okay, and you can develop these using Xcode as well. As a matter of fact, we have a course on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going. Let's go back into the content view. Now your content view has a few things going on. You have an import statement. We are importing your SwiftUI framework, which is responsible for having the definition for all these things that we are doing here. It has a definition for VStack. What is VStack? Image, text, and stuff like that. All that definition is stored inside your SwiftUI framework. So it is required when you're developing in SwiftUI, you import SwiftUI. Then you create your main struct and you conform to view. View is your very base level view, one of the like most foundational structure that you're gonna create for creating screens or for developing components. You're gonna create view. View is a protocol. The only thing it requires you to do is it asks you, hey, give me a definition of body, what the view is gonna contain. Now SwiftUI is different from UIKit. If you all are coming from UIKit and you have seen how UIKit works, SwiftUI is a mindset change. SwiftUI, the way it works is you don't create a button and tell it step by step how to create, how to lay out and stuff like that. Your intent is described and that intent is laid out on the screen the way you're laying out your basically high level thoughts. Okay, so for example, in UIKit, if I want to create a container, I'll have to give the definition of the container. I'll have to define where it's gonna go with constraints and stuff like that. None of that is there in SwiftUI. SwiftUI is what we call as declarative UI. You declare the UI the way you want to create it and it is created for you. For example, I need a vertical stack. Inside the vertical stack, I'm going to expect to have an image and a text. So that's what we are doing here. We are creating a VStack with an image and text, and all that is laid out for you right here on the canvas. Okay, now let's talk about canvas. Canvas is your basically a view, a moment or at that time that is running for your view. So basically this view, whatever it is gonna represent, that is shown in your canvas. You can preview your work here and you can see what it's gonna look like. And preview is preview is a convenient tool. Like it prevents you or it saves you time from like running your app over and over into the simulator to see like, how did you change. So if you're making minor UI changes, for example, if I don't know, globe.fill, if I'm doing that, if I have to run app over and over just to see whether the fill is applied or not, that's like, wasting a lot of time. So that time is saved using preview. And the way you create preview is by defining the preview provider in the form of a preview macro right here. Okay. Preview macro, it basically contains what you want to show, and then that is shown right here on your preview section. Okay. There are configurations here that you can set as well. Okay. But right now we're just going to leave it as content view. Okay, so whatever you type here, whatever you write here, it actually shows up here. So let me show you, like, if we delete everything and create a simple image, we're going to use something called SF system, SF symbol, which is represented when you pass system name, it represents like different shapes in vectorized format that you can actually draw on your screen. And I'm gonna say person. Okay, and now we're gonna basically say that this person, this image person, needs to be a large title font. So it needs to be a little bit big. It needs to, let's say, we need to have a fill, and it needs to have a background color of teal in a circle. So you can see how we are defining our intent, what we want to create. It needs to have a padding of 20 points. So as you can see that we are actually defining how we want to lay out our view, and our view is laid out for us. Okay, none of the constraints or like, telling how to do things is happening here. That's more like, imperative programming, which is where UIKit fits. Okay, so this is how you build your basic SwiftUI. Now, with all that introduction, we are ready to move on and start building our app. So let's go ahead and hop on to the next video where we're going to start building our app, and we're going to start with the model for the app. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.